Hi, my name is Michael Waitze, and welcome back to ATP. Global commerce does not work without connectivity, but connectivity alone is not enough. In financial services, interoperability, the seamless, real-time ability for systems, platforms, and partners to communicate and share core data is becoming the foundation for everything. What happens during this transition to interoperability? What frictions remain buried in the pipes of global payments, slowing down innovation, economic growth, and financial inclusion, all very important topics. ATP welcomes Elie Bertha, the Chief Product Officer at Thunes, to dig deeper into the challenges of building a borderless, interoperable financial system. We want to know which models work and which models don't. What does a world of truly interoperability in finance actually look like? Elie, thank you so much for coming to the show. Joining us on ATP at Money 2020 Europe in Amsterdam. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you, Michael.
Let's just jump right into the main thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Why is interoperability now considered the foundational layer for the future of global financial services? Why does this matter so much?
It's a very good question. And actually, from my perspective, it matters since a long time.
Okay.
We've seen over the last decade, couple of years, 20 years ago, a rise of new financial services that has been extremely successful into various local markets to better serve individuals,
Yep.
to facilitate financial inclusivity, and to allow them to access to all the normal financial services.
Right.
The challenge is those super cool super app, mobile wallet, application, etc. remains even today outside of the global economy system. And this is our mission at Thunes, to bring them back together, to create this interoperability across the different financial services, bank and non-bank, to help their own customers to better manage their account with a full, transparent and seamless way.
So how long have you been living outside of your home country?
I think I moved out of France back in 2014, straight after university.
Right.
I moved to Singapore
Okay.
in Asia, and I discovered a brand new world in terms of financial services.
Were you surprised? Were you surprised?
I was surprised.
Yeah.
Actually, I was surprised because, you know, when you live in France and so usually you have your card, it's not even a Visa, MasterCard, is a carte bleue.
Right.
I remember I was still paying my rent by check,
By
at that time.
You're not that old.
And,
Sorry,
and,
go ahead.
and I came to Singapore. I discovered real-time bank transfer,
Yeah.
something we did not have in France.
Right.
I discovered pay by QR at any merchant. I could buy my bowl of noodle using my wallet by QR code. And I started to realize that actually giving the right payment experience for the end user matters.
So it's really interesting. Once you're in a situation where the payment process is kind of frictionless, then you start thinking to yourself, why isn't it like this for payments in every part of my life? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So why don't you tell me if you've had any personal experiences where you thought, this should be so much easier?
Oh, a lot.
Tell me.
Think about going to a restaurant with friends, yeah?
Yeah.
You want to split the bill at the end.
Sure. This is like the most simple thing you can do.
And you do have a lot of restaurants, even today, that not allow you to split the bill. So usually you have one of your good friends that
Right.
will do the payment for you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you need to reimburse.
Right.
I remember back in university, this was a challenge. I had to go to get some cash to give the exact amount to my friends because sending a bank transfer at that time took 1 to 2 days to
Right.
arrive.
And it
And it
wasn't
was not
easy.
free.
Yeah, and it wasn't free and it wasn't easy,
Yeah.
right? Right. Yeah.
And this is what surprised me the most, going to Asia, in Singapore, but not only in Singapore,
Right.
across all APAC.
Yep.
Discovering mobile wallet in Indonesia, in the Philippines, solving real problem because the challenge for them is slightly different. They don't have access to the banking service.
Right.
Usually they will live into some remote islands, all right? And those people needed a new way to get financial services. The mobile wallet has been extremely successful, but now think about it, you have X million of Filipino migrant workers living in Dubai, in Singapore, in
Saudi
Europe,
Arabia,
in the UK, in
Japan,
the
everywhere.
US.
Yep.
But those people still need to send money back home
Right.
every month in order to access their own local financial services and support their family.
So why don't you tell me, like, what are some of the surprising technical or even regulatory other roadblocks to achieving this meaningful operability so that this type of thing that you say, and it's not just workers from the Philippines, it's workers from all over the world. You're in Singapore, your family's in France,
Yeah.
I'm in Bangkok, my family's in Japan. right? What are some of the surprising things that get in the way of making
I
this
think
possible?
the main challenge is the fragmentation of this market.
Okay.
And it has exists plenty of solutions that are all very good from my perspective,
Yep.
but all following different set of standards within a given market. And it's even worse when you think on a cross-border scale.
Go ahead.
So the question is, how do you harmonize those standards?
Yeah.
How do you make them work together from a regulatory standpoint, from a technical perspective as well, right? And many of those systems does not have like the best-in-class APIs that you can connect, that you can interconnect easily.
Right.
From a financial flow as well, how do you deal with those multi-currencies that are involved? How do you handle your FX? How do you handle your liquidity in each and every single market that you support? And those are the challenges that you face when you try to bring them all together.
Right. So I always think about what is the equivalent, right? So I look at other industries and I think, pick anything, like even if it's a restaurant industry or some other industry, auto manufacturing, right? Apple iPhones, all these things get manufactured, they get sent around, but at the end of the day, they all end up being exactly the same. So are there lessons you can learn from other industries that have successfully adopted some kind of interoperability and standardized it?
My view, the type of companies that has been extremely successful for that are the super application. Super
apps?
Yeah.
Tell me.
I think when you think about the story behind WeChat, starting as a messaging platform, allowing their customer to send text message from one to another.
Go ahead.
And little by little, evolving, bringing additional services to their ecosystem, but without reinventing those services. It was how do they interconnect them? How do they incubate them into their own ecosystem?
Right.
You had the same story with Grab.
Yeah.
Starting from a ride-hailing type of company, right? But then little by little expanding to payment, expanding to food delivery, expanding to getting grocery shopping, expanding to pre-booking your ticket for the theater, and so on. So everything within Grab ecosystem,
right?
But not recreating another standard, more creating the link between all those different sub-services.
So this is actually really interesting. WeChat itself is a very domestic Chinese product, right? Which means that if I use it in Thailand, and I've tried, it's hard.
Yeah.
But Grab, to give them credit, again, you live in Singapore, you probably use Grab every day. Maybe sometimes for food, maybe sometimes for ride hailing, maybe sometimes to pay for things, Grab Pay.
Exactly.
I use it in Bangkok every single day.
Exactly.
It's the same exact application.
In Southeast Asia.
In all of Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
But at least it's interoperable in Jakarta, in Singapore, in Ho Chi Minh, in Manila, right? In Bangkok. So they've achieved some level of that. Yeah. And that's kind of a really good example of it.
They did.
I like it. So how do you think this idea of fully interoperability, let's say we're living in a fantasy world, and I want to talk about how we get there in a second, but what would be the impact? How would it change the global economy?
Okay, different perspective.
Yeah.
I will start from more individual perspective, person to person.
Yeah.
So I think it's no surprise that people are moving more and more across border. Can be for job, it can be for study, it can be for travel experience, etc. Yep. And we need solutions today that are able to follow you across those borders, especially when you term about financial services and payments.
Go ahead.
All right. To me, this is critical if you want to succeed, to be able to continue to support your customers living abroad.
Yeah.
And we at Thunes have done a lot to facilitate this type of flow and helping our customers to better support their own customers living abroad.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, the perfect example. Sorry, go ahead. Do you want to finish? Go ahead.
No, just to complete. And this is no difference for businesses as well.
Yeah.
Corporates, they start to open more and more different entities in various countries.
Right.
But even moving liquidity from one entity to another can still be a challenge today.
Right.
And there are still a lot to
Right. I mean, look, when I was in Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, if we were paying a customer money, that was hard. If a customer was paying us money from another country that had to go through an FX or some kind of correspondent bank into us, that was hard. But even if we wanted to send money to our own company in a different entity, it was hard.
Yeah.
Right? So you're right. Both from a personal perspective and an enterprise perspective, it was hard. I want to know if you think this, though. Do you have to start from bottom up? Meaning it has to work for you and me. before, or is it more important for it to work for you and me than it is to work for enterprises at scale?
No, I think in parallel to me.
In parallel.
I've been sharing a lot about like more for people like you and me because this is closer to what I believe and what I love to serve. But it has to work in parallel for individual, for businesses, for SMEs, for any type of businesses, global accounts or smaller.
So again, let's get back to this idea of the impact though, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we do have interoperability. Like right now, I'm in Amsterdam. I can't pay for anything.
So how do you pay today?
He pays for it.
Ah, good.
He pays for it. No, but you laugh. But then when we get back, he calculates how much I owe him. And when we get home, it's simple. I go, boop, boop, boop. I put in a number. I give it to him. He goes back to his place. I go back to my place. It's all perfectly easy. But that should be, and we could do it here, right? Because as long as we have an internet connection, that's going to work. But I literally want to be able to get into an Uber here and do what I do back in Bangkok. Just scan to pay.
Correct.
Right? That's, and if that happens, I think it unlocks a ton of liquidity.
And ease and convenience. And I don't understand why making a payment needs to be a painful experience. You're already paying for a service. It has to be fully embedded into the way you experience the service. And it should not be one more point of friction in the user experience.
No, I agree.
But don't get me wrong. Many companies has been extremely successful to solve that for their own end user.
For their own end user. Yeah.
Now the challenge is how do you transform those closed loop ecosystem into real open loop ecosystem
for everybody,
and allow them to interconnect, to create this interoperability between them.
So I was having a conversation with a big bank.
Yeah.
And we were getting onto like a similar topic, right? Of not just interoperability, but like what is the future of banking going to look like? The future of financial services. His contention to me was that right now every bank maintains their own ledger. So he introduced this concept to me yesterday of a shared ledger.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you in the context of interoperability? Like what difference does that make?
Does make sense. So I'm not an expert into ledger management.
Yeah, neither am I.
And I'm sure he came from a bank, so way more complex.
Yeah, but I'm just curious, but just what your thought is, yeah?
I think this will allow different bank, different system to better communicate together and to align in terms of a standard. So here it was a ledger management, but actually you could think about the same about compliance screening.
Yeah.
You could think the same about FX management.
Exactly.
And it allows them to create a kind of communality, common solution that each of the different entities can communicate with.
Yeah.
And this is extremely interesting. I think there is still a lot of work to do.
There's
on that
a ton of work to
space,
do on this, right?
But it's coming. And this is what is going to change the way we handle finance on a global scale today.
What do you think interoperability means? You talked a little bit before about financial inclusion.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about why that's so important, like the interoperability is important for financial inclusion, and then more so even why inclusion is so important.
I think I will give you a very concrete example, right? And something that is close to my heart as well. So today, let's assume you're a Filipino migrant worker living in Europe.
Living in New York.
In Europe.
In Europe, yeah.
Most of your family is still in the Philippines, right? And you are in Europe to gain money and to be able to send money back home in order to support your family.
Yeah.
At home, most probably you are going to use Gcash wallet, which has been rising over the last
it's a big company,
10 years.
Yep.
Extremely successful. Why they are successful? Because they provide the best-in-class user experience. They are fully inclusive. You don't need to have a bank account. You can still have access to all the classic financial services.
Right.
Very powerful in the Philippines. So from your Gcash, you can pay for your electricity bill. You can top up your phone to be able to call your family. You can pay for school fees. You can get grocery delivery at home, etc., etc. So all those good services. But now, so you're in France. You need to send money back home. Today, you will have to go to money transfer operator. You will need to register to new services. You will need to be able to know which service will allow you to send money to the Philippines.
This is in France, yeah?
In France or all in
anywhere
Europe.
else in Europe,
You will need to navigate through a very complex ecosystem just to be able to send money back and to help your family.
Which is the whole reason why you're there, right?
And plus, it can be quite expensive as well because this system relies on a lot of intermediaries.
Right.
So something very cool that we have created at Thunes.
Tell me.
Leveraging new standards in Europe think about open banking,
Open banking.
allowing us basically to create a kind of interoperability on the account,
Right.
plus our current relationship with Gcash. So today, any Filipino migrant worker living in Europe can instantly, in real time, connect their European bank account with their Gcash wallet, move funds from Europe to Philippines in real time at the most competitive price, and instantly access all the local financial services that Gcash provide to them.
Once the money gets home. Once the money gets back to the Philippines, right?
In real time already.
In real time. This is like transformational.
Yeah. And that's, to me, the proper interoperability from a person-to-person basis.
Okay, that's amazing. This is the kind of thing that not keeps you up at night, but that lets you sleep at night. Because it's got to make you super happy to be able to do that, right?
Bring me the smile when I wake up.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you this. If you could build the global financial system from scratch, right? Because we talked about all these different things, right? Correspondent banking, how you get money from, how you register for something in France. This is old, right? But all this development, all this innovation that's been done, let's say nothing existed, right? How, if you could build the global financial system from scratch, how would interoperability be designed in from the beginning?
This is a very tough question. And I could answer in the way like I will ensure the different system will follow a certain set of standards to facilitate the communication between them, what we discussed from both a regulatory standpoint, financial flow, information flow, with standard of APIs, etc.
Right.
But I'm not too sure this is really possible, in fact. And actually, I think forcing the different service to follow a specific standard restrains them as well in a way.
Go ahead.
So actually, I will take it differently.
Okay,
I think it's extremely important that each one of us, we know our own strength and we build our solution as we feel it's best for our customers.
Right.
But we need as well to accept that we will need to interconnect between all of us.
Right.
And to me, it's not really a shift that has to happen from a technical standpoint, but from a mindset perspective.
Right.
And to build your solution, assuming that you will need to interconnect with the other services that exist around you.
Got it. So what would you build first, though?
But to me, I wish I can have I do have, so because I had my life in Singapore, now in Spain, initially in France. I'm managing a bit my saving across all of that, depending where I receive my salary. And I think I would build like something where my money is my money, no matter where I am.
Yeah.
All right. And I should be able to use it in the most convenient way, no matter where I am in the world.
So in a way, like the way I look at this, I want to say this the right way. I think I'd build a digital wallet first. That digital wallet can hold any currency. It can hold any cryptocurrency. It could hold any stablecoin, and it's mine, just like you said. And to move it around, I would have to do what I do like in my email system. I create a new folder for it if I want to. That happens automatically or dynamically. And then I can just drag and drop from like my inbox to my saved box. I could delete it if I wanted to. I'd never want to delete money, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
To me, it should be like kind of that easy. That's what I would build first.
And I think we deserve it.
Yeah, we do, because in every other part of our life, we kind of have that flexibility, right? Like when you're writing a document on your computer, you're like, oh, I don't want to save it there. I want to save it here. I want to rename it.
No, exactly.
But the document doesn't change. It's just the way you name it. Like I want to be able to call stuff what I want to be able to call it and be in control of it. Anyway.
And it should be accessible from one entry point. You should not have to jump from one app to another another system.
So this is the other conversation I was having with the banker guy.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest businesses, some of the biggest businesses that are going to get built, there's going to be this layer up here, like an access layer.
Yeah.
Where I would even make the contention, and I'm curious what you think, that a bank account per se at some point is going to kind of go away. Where the money is yours and it's fungible across places. You can do whatever you want with it, but accessing it from some point, like the pipes are going to be super important. Because stuff's going to have to move.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're going to say something.
No, it's very interesting. And I don't think it's a question to replace the bank. It's more to complement their service with new layer, new entry points that will facilitate this account-to-account interoperability, account management, and as one single entry point.
I agree. So there's a part of me that understands disruption but doesn't believe that it's actually going to happen in the way most people think. I agree with you. I don't think the bank's going away. But I think what they do is going to go away. And this facilitation layer on top is going to be really important. How has the conversation evolved about interoperability, even just from 5 years ago to today? What do you think?
Technology has advanced a lot.
In
And-
the last 5 years?
Yes.
For sure.
And this is a key facilitator as well.
Okay.
Because this new set of API will allow seamless exchange of information that are critical for interoperability.
Right.
I believe as well a lot of the regulators has been looking into it, alignment in terms of the requirements, okay, which help as well company like us to
Right.
create this interoperability. They are a bit more open to it. They understand the need. They understand the value we can create.
For sure.
And they understand as well that we can make it happen by controlling the risk as well and not necessarily doing, like,
Yeah.
So those are for me the two key points. It's still a journey. I see it happening more and more. I think now when you think about the digital assets that are coming into the picture as well,
Yeah.
and there is a bit a sense of interoperability coming out of it.
Right.
And no, I could see a lot of good improvements. We can access, exchange information, manage settlement a bit more easily.
Right. I mean, I spent so much time in the last couple of months talking to people about real world asset tokenization and just the tokenization of money. We don't have to talk about that today, but it's just a fascinating concept because once the money is tokenized and programmable, a lot of really interesting things can happen.
And it does help. It helps to exchange as well. You don't need to send anymore the cash that will take like 5 days to receive, and you can trust these tokens.
And again, from a liquidity standpoint, it's just so interesting to me.
Yeah.
It just unlocks things that, again, you couldn't create the products that we can create with tokenization without it.
Yeah.
And
so the technology needs to make it happen.
Yep.
And you need to create the environment to bring the trust between the different participants of the ecosystem.
So this is another interesting point. And again, because you brought up the personal side of this earlier, we talked about a mindset change at the institutional level. There's a split, right, between the way Gen Z and younger people look at what money is and, Gen X, Gen Y, and baby boomers that still have money and still have a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there needs to be a mindset change as well with the individuals to get a better sense of like what money really is? Do you know what I mean?
I remember first time, payment by card was not really common in France when I was very young, especially living on the countryside.
Oh, okay.
I do remember my dad refusing to use his cards.
Refusing to use the card?
Yeah.
Because he was worried about, he was scared, yeah.
He was scared.
I'll tell you a funny story in a second, go ahead.
Or even my mom going on the internet to buy, she was scared, but they will steal my card, etc. Yeah. I think this has changed a lot. And now the new generation are a bit more open to those systems because they grew up with them, they trust them, they know like there is no big security concern to be worried. And the adoption is rising as well. Plus, it's a generation that want frictionless experience.
For everything.
They want easy, seamless, accessible.
Right.
And accessibility.
Easy, seamless, accessible. I agree.
Correct.
Completely.
But my dad, I think, was prefer to withdraw cash from the ATM and to pay by cash. Huh?
Yeah. Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah, please.
I want to get the year right. It must have been 1994. It's a long time ago. When it could have been 95, but probably 94, when Amazon was first available to like ship things from the United States to Japan where I was living. And I had a credit card and I didn't trust putting it in that little place because I just thought, I don't know where it's going. I don't know who's going to see it. I wasn't thinking about, cryptography or security or stuff like that, but I just wasn't sure. I felt safer calling a guy in Washington State and giving him my credit card number, which when you think about it, should be completely upside down. Today, I'd never call that guy.
Correct.
I'd much rather give it to the internet. But I do think there's a mindset change there that's actually really important.
But a lot of education as well. And, And we are advancing, and I'm sure it's true in many, many type of industry.
Yeah. And look, my daughter doesn't think about this at all.
Yeah.
As far as she's concerned, she's digitally native. She's 24, I think. She's completely digitally native.
Everything is digital.
Yeah, for her, everything's digital.
Yeah. And it's a new normal.
Say again?
Yeah. And it's a normal for her.
Yeah, completely normal for her, for all her friends. If she borrows money from somebody when she's visiting her friends in Bangkok, you know what she does to me? She takes a picture of her friend's QR code.
Yeah.
Sends it to me on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I scan it and pay.
See?
I love this.
This is beautiful.
This I love.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay. We haven't spoken at all about the thing that everybody's talking about, and that's stablecoins. What role do you think they're going to play?
Oh, I talk a lot about it over the last 2 days. I think
So tell me,
it's one of the big topic for the last couple of months.
Okay.
I think very interesting. It can solve a lot of challenges. To me, the main things that I'm interested in is the availability of it.
Okay.
So it's something you can send, you can receive, you can exchange on a 24/7 basis,
Right.
all year long.
Right.
No bank holidays, etc.
Okay, I want to repeat this because I want everyone to hear it again. I want them to make sure they're listening to this. A stablecoin can be transferred back and forth 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
right? As long as the person has the facility to do it. Sorry, go ahead. It's
Exactly.
very important.
So this accessibility,
Mm-hmm.
availability is key for
It's super key.
our industry.
Yeah.
Now the big question is, how is it going to be interconnected with our more traditional financial ecosystem?
Okay, tell me this. Right. So it's like I send you a stablecoin, I send you $100.
Yeah.
But how do you get it into dollars so then you can use
And
it?
then what do I do with it?
Yeah, what do you do
So,
with it?
couple of solutions exist. You have some exchange platforms that will give you a card that you can spend directly from your digital asset wallet. It works well, but it does not exist in every single country of the world.
Right.
Maybe you can start to purchase online using your digital asset wallet, but same, the adoption is not yet there. So there
Right.
is still the question of how do you convert back to your local currency
Whatever it is.
in order to pay for your school fee, in order to pay for your grocery shopping, in order
Right.
to pay for your hospital bill, etc.
So how does that work?
So it's in progress, I think, but once again, is my view is it will be solved when fintech and bank will collaborate together to solve it.
Yeah.
I don't think there will be one unique solution. I really think it's a question of how do we all come together to drive adoption and usability of those new type of digital assets.
Right. And do you think banks are going to start using stablecoins so that, again, if I
In a way, yes.
Good. Here's my perfect example. We kind of talked about this earlier. If I want to take money from my bank account in the United States on a Friday night, I'm like, oh my God, I need money for the weekend, and I don't have cash in Thailand.
Yeah.
And I ask the bank to send it to me. That money's not going to arrive until Monday.
Yeah.
Today. But if there's stable coins, does that mean the money's going to arrive immediately and that I can take the money out of my bank on Saturday morning when I wake up? Is that the theory around this?
I believe so. I believe it will come. I believe it will completely disrupt the way we think cross-border payment today.
Yeah.
However, to make it happen, this will come out of a very strategic alliance
Right.
between fintech, virtual asset provider service,
Right.
and bank together. Because at the end of the day, you still need to have the liquidity in the country.
That's the only thing I care about. Because sometimes, literally, I forget.
And it's the banks that will provide the liquidity.
Yeah. And again, this we could spend hours talking about what the implication is for the banking business. I don't want to do that here. If they can't keep that money over the weekend, earn 3 days worth of interest on it, and then pay me.
There are a couple of solutions, but we need to find a way to create the right partnership.
Yep.
And it has to be proper partnership where everyone will have the role to play and a proper win-to-win situation. And that's how this is going to be unlocked. But I'm very optimistic about the future. I think there is a lot we can do.
Yeah, same.
But we all have to collaborate together to really make it happen. I don't think it's one system that will replace
I don't
another.
think so either. I don't think there's going to be one like monopolistic solution to this. Right. And I do think that stablecoin or not, right? So let's just say Bank A issues a stablecoin, Bank B issues a stablecoin, and Bank C does. Even if they're completely fungible, there are going to be services around how they offer that and deliver that to you and experiences as we talked about. And that's going to be the differentiator, I think. Yeah?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So let's say we're in Southeast Asia and we figure out a way to be able to solve some of the interoperability problems. But the rest of the world hasn't solved it yet. So we want to figure out a way, like now we're working on the next thing, which is going from regional to maybe super regional and then to global. If we solve it regionally first, does it make it harder to solve it super regionally and then globally, or does it make it easier?
No, I think it's easier.
It's better, right?
But yeah, I believe so, because you already have created one part of the interoperability across one region, which is usually easier to do because you have a bit more standard across the region. It can be in APAC, it can be in Africa, it can be in Europe, in Americas.
Right.
And then you need to create one additional layer
which is
to interconnect them
Yeah,
together
to
across
super
between
regional.
Europe to APAC or
Yeah, yeah.
Africa to Asia.
how much time do you spend thinking about the financial system and financial inclusion in Africa? Just because you just mentioned it.
Oh, this very interesting.
Go ahead.
I think the story I gave with the Filipino migrant worker,
Yeah,
it's even more powerful in Africa.
really.
In Africa, in many countries, more than 80% of the population remain unbanked
Yeah,
and
yeah.
using those mobile wallets.
Yep.
Even more powerful than in what
Fair
we
enough.
can find in Asia, or no, not more similar, but quite important as
Right.
well. Africa is a region as well when you have a lot of inter-Africa flow.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Nigeria to Kenya.
and bi-directional also,
Yeah.
like from Kenya to Tanzania or from Tanzania to Kenya.
Yep.
Where usually in other parts of the world, the migration flow will come more from emerging countries to developed markets.
Right.
In Africa, it will stay within Africa. And creating this interoperability in Africa was one of the first missions of Thunes. That's how we started. That's how we've developed our network of mobile wallet
Right.
termination.
Yeah.
And same very close to my heart. But what I find interesting is those challenges that are faced in Africa are very similar to the challenges faced in Asia, very similar to the challenges faced in Latin America.
Right. I always feel like if you can solve that problem in the hardest place, solving it in the second hardest place is marginally easier. Right. So if you can do it there, and if that was the original goal, it's so noble.
Yeah.
It's just kind of cool. Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, even in Europe it's challenging.
Even in Europe, yeah,
And
but,
in the US as well.
but for different reasons, right?
For
I mean,
different
and I don't
reasons.
know, you're going to know the European markets better than I am. In the US, you have 50 different states with all
Yeah.
different regulations. It's just super hard there, whether it's banking or insurance.
No, correct. And in Europe you have a bit more cohesion across the country. The
Right.
standards, it does help a lot.
Yeah, it does. Looking ahead, I'll let you go after this. How will the impact of interoperability differ in the short term, where efficiency and cost savings dominate? Right, like if it's interoperable, it's really cool. We solve some problems in the short term. It's great. Everything's easy. From the long term, where it really could reshape market access, competition, financial inclusion, and even the distribution of wealth globally. Right, and this gets back to what you talked about in Africa, we talked about in the Philippines. If they're actually really included in the global financial system, whether it's through stablecoins or some of the other innovations we were talking about, it could really change the way money flows around the world, where money gets invested, and create this really frictionless system that's better, I think, for the whole world. What do you think?
And it will unlock a lot of new opportunities, I think.
Yep.
It's going to facilitate you to be where you have to be to deliver the value you want to create.
Yeah.
It will help you to be local, yet global as well.
Right.
And actually, I can see a lot of extremely good things happening from there. You know, we started this interview sharing my experience, my surprises in Singapore.
Yep.
Okay, this is not a standalone story, and actually will help me or businesses to take what has been learned from one specific region to apply it in the other side of the world,
Right.
and take what's best on a global scale. And I think solving global cross-border payments is going to facilitate to go towards this direction.
I completely agree with
Be
you.
global yet local.
I like it. I like it a lot. Elie Bertha, the Chief Product Officer at Thunes. That was awesome. Thank you so much for doing this again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.